seeing it. Like, if you say,
I get it, but that's not the GM's fault.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. There's a level of tying that is together. All right, Mike.
It is time to move on to our next topic here, and it's something that we have to talk about after what we saw the last couple days. We wanted to talk about the Guardians' offensive bats exploding yesterday, or for yesterday's show, and then we had Marquise Goodwin come on, so that kind of got scrapped. So the new topic we're going to hit today: has Tito lost his touch with the Guardians after Sam Hentges blew another late-inning lead?
Has he had some bad luck this year? Yes. Has he made questionable decisions? Yeah, of course, sure. Every manager has. You know, Hentges, he loves Sam Hentges. So I remember when Hentges was first coming up, and there was the comparison to Andrew Miller. This could be a Miller type, and they used him as a starter. It didn't work out. They put him in this reliever role. You're not always going to hit the right button. It doesn't mean he's lost his touch. Savali, I don't think they have a ton of faith in him, frankly, to go very deep into games, to get over that 100-pitch mark. And I think, you know, Zach Meisel wrote about today, he referenced a story, Bull, that Zach had on The Athletic today, that he got tired after, through his last start, 79 or 81 or something like that. So and we saw it actually with the Yankees early in the year, Yankee Domingo Germán after 5 innings almost every another look.
Perfect game up.
I know, and then you pitched a perfect game. After he got it could do with where they were at in the lineup and not wanting to see guys another time through. There's multiple factors that go into it. I don't think Tito's lost his touch at all. He's a Hall of Fame manager. He hasn't taken any time away from the game. He has kept up. For being an old school manager, I think Tito has sort of integrated more of the advanced analytics, and he's embraced that more than a lot of the old school guys have. I think he's just fine. It's just one of those years.
I will say this about Tito. I agree with Jason that I don't think the game has passed him by. However, he's not had a particularly good first half. You know, managers can go into slumps too. Managers can you're making the bad decisions, whatever, it happens. I think there's a couple of things here. As great a manager as Tito is and has always been, and is absolutely a Hall of Famer, he's been a magnificent manager across the board. Anybody in the game will tell you that. Any player that's played for him loves him. His in-game managing has never been the strength of his being a manager. His strength is his ability to relate to players and to connect with players in different ways and get the most out of them. That's the most important thing to me as a manager, and that's his strength. His in-game management at times has lacked, especially with handling the bullpen, and I think it's been a little worse this year. I will say his loyalty to Miles Straw is baffling. I don't want to hear, every time I bring this up, somebody says to me, well, they're paying him. Who cares? They got to pay him whether he starts. So because they're paying him, that means he has to play every day? That doesn't make any sense. So his loyalty to Straw is baffling to me. Why he plays pretty much every day is insane. There is no world in which Miles Straw is an everyday player. He is the least productive hitter in baseball. He has not been as good defensively this year. If you look at the analytics on it, he's been more, pretty good, not elite this year. Just because you win a Gold Glove once doesn't make you the best outfielder in baseball. He shouldn't be playing every day. That's simple. But Terry Francona is still a good manager who's having a bad year. Hopefully, second half will be better, as has been the case many times. Now, I've consistently picked them to still win this division, but I've started to lose my faith in this. A lot of it because of key injuries to Bieber. We're not going to see Bieber until at least sometime in August. Zach pointed out in the article he's probably thinking late August, early September. I doubt you'll see McKenzie at all the rest of the season. So that's your two best pitchers, or the guys who have been your two best pitchers. So to me, the Guardians are a tough spot because they're in a crappy division, so they're not out of it. I don't think they have much of a realistic chance to win in the postseason. However, as Zach pointed out, if, the big if, Bieber and McKenzie were healthy and pitching well, and they did make the playoffs, they would have a good enough pitching staff to compete. But their lineup is so bad. Even Antonetti admitted the lineup is taking a step backwards, which he never really admits to, which is crazy. Now think about this. Josh Naylor, 75 ribbies is insane. Even Jose Ramirez is not on pace for that. Now, let's give Cal a little credit. He's played better here. And if you look at his numbers right now, they're not terrible.
If he could play against his former team 162 games, he'd be an all-star. Because he hammered the Pirates and he hammered the Nationals.
Yeah. Well, who is it?
I'm so done with Josh. I'm just done.
He hasn't been that on.
I'm done with him.
He has been better.
$16.5 million.
I'm not saying he's worth the money. I'm saying he's been a little better. I wish they could get rid of him. I'd be happy. It's not good enough.
I don't.
But he's not been. He's been better.
There's two things that baffle me, and I need to figure out what it is. Because it seems like anybody that I ask, they take turns kicking back and forth. Whose decision is it that Miles Straw is playing every day? Who does that come down to? Okay,
That's Tito.
Yeah.
whose decision is it that Oscar Gonzalez is just he got 25 games and that was it?
That's the front office. I mean, I think if Tito really wanted Oscar up, he'd be up.
I agree with that.
Right.
So my thing is that's a huge problem because the Guardians operate in a way where they seem to be rational and go to the room, but there's some certain things where they go way to the end of the road, like Boys to Men, like with these guys, and it's already
Yeah,
it's
with
written.
Oscar Gonzalez, here's what I don't understand. Again, I'll reference Zach's very excellent article in The Athletic, where he talked about Gonzalez. He said Gonzalez will be up soon. There's still complaints in the organization that he's undisciplined in play. If the Guardians lineup was full of good hitters, I could understand that argument. And Zach points out, well, Josh Naylor was much less disciplined earlier in his career, and the reason he has blossomed this year is because he's become more disciplined at the plate. Well, Josh Naylor's in like his 5th, 6th season.
Yeah.
Why does Oscar Gonzalez has been on fire in AAA and he's been killing lefties? And there is zero reason not to have him in the majors when you have zero production. It's insane. Even if he's still undisciplined, let him work on it in the majors where at least he's going to run into some home runs.
That's drinking your own Kool-Aid. They get high off their own supply right now.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the luxury of saying, "Oh, plate discipline." That's something you work. Listen, at that level, you're losing games 2-1, and we talk about the bullpen all the time. Oh, the bullpen's having a tough year. How would you like to have your job always come down to you coming in the game and it's like 2 people on and you got to get people out? The Guardians almost as an organization seem like runs are bad. Home runs are bad. You need 2 or 3 people that don't have plate discipline and hit you 30 home runs. I don't think they understand that. And for them to keep trotting these people out with no power and then just say, well, you're reading into the analytics way too much. You start to say people in the organization are upset. And if he's the guy, at some point he said, hold on. This is the reason I'm Tito and I'm the Hall of Famer. You guys go give me some players.
Yeah.
How much you guys we got? We need to bring them on up.
Yeah, and Jason, one other thing, again, it's tactical. He points out, well, Antonetti's saying that Freeman and Arias, it's hard for them to play well when they're not. Well, maybe you should send Arias back to the minors. Maybe Arias should be in the minors, and Alex Gonzalez should be up. That would create more playing time for Arias to play, where he's been miserable in the majors, and give a little more playing time to Freeman, and move on from Rosario, which he also points out.
Well, what's funny is in spring training they were saying they can't carry Freeman and Arias together because there's too much overlap. Well, that's exactly what they're doing now is carrying them together.
Yes.
So everything they said in spring training, they've now pivoted basically 180 degrees on.
Right.
But the whole Gonzalez thing, the one he needs to be taking a bats from is Miles Straw, and I don't know
100%.
and I don't know that they're ready to make that.
I mean, you have to. It's
move. I agree. Listen, I said Brandon Kwan, Straw, which is not going to pick one of them to center field or go get 2 new corner bats. That's right. At least get Gonzalez and move Brennan to center. Although I still would like Kwan in center and 2 new corner guys to make Brennan the 4th outfielder.
Right.
I don't know how this ends with Miles Straw. I don't know how this is going to work. A lot of guaranteed money committed to him. I don't know how they're going to get off that, if they even want to get off that. But the move for Gonzalez is to take bats away from Miles Straw, and I don't know if they're ready to do that.
I mean,
I know.
Think about that. That's insane.
I know.
It's crazy. Oscar, though, let Gabriel Arias play every day. Ahmed Rosario, who's been much better for the last month, has to be gone. We have to see one of these young guys play every day. So I think Tyler Freeman's been better than Arias in part-time play. I want to see Tyler Freeman get a crack at playing shortstop every day. So they either need to trade Rosario, which obviously you're not getting, you're getting minimal return, fine. He's going to be gone next year anyway, so you might as well. If you have to, you cut him. I don't care.
Yes, I am, whatever.
But they could get something. Something.
You would get a single A.
Whatever. A lottery ticket.
Yeah.
They've had some success with the Flyers. Trade him for a lottery ticket and put Tyler Freeman there every day. And then, I would let Arias go to the minors right now, let him play for a few weeks, build some confidence up, and then bring him back in August. Have Freeman play every day, or maybe split time with Arias, where at least they're both getting a good amount of at-bats. So let's go here. And this is bullshit that Oscar Gonzalez is in the minors, because Miles Straw's got to get at-bats. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life.
Is it really? That just popped in my head. We talk about there's always serious pressure on the Browns, right?
Yeah.
There's pressure down on the Cavs. Do you think that there is ever really any life-changing pressure on the Guardians? I don't. I think they're just they're here, and if they do something, it flips up a little bit. But there's no there's no mob saying Tiki Torch mob saying we're fiddling.
Amongst the diehard Guardians community, there are some people that are a little frustrated with Tito at this point and think they should move on. I'm not one of those people, but there is some sentiment.
Yeah.
But there's no pressure.
Is there pressure to win or be fired in terms of front office people? No. And Tito? No. They're not going. Nor should they.
No, not really. I'm just saying, do you think that I've never really seen the expectation for them to be, oh no, you got to go to the World Series.
Well, that's because they've always been good. And so when you're always good, I know he won a Super Bowl earlier in his career, but Mike Tomlin has been mediocre for a long time, right? He hasn't won a playoff game in a lot of years, but a lot of the fans want to fire him in Pittsburgh, but Froman's not going to fire him. They're like, this guy's a really good coach, why would we fire him?
Right.
And in baseball in particular, it's frustrating, but the playoffs are a crapshoot. Let's face it.
You don't need a lot if you're that vicious. We need to be careful.
To the World Series, whereas the 2017 team, which lost in the first round after blowing an 0-2 lead, was a way better team.
It was a better team. 17 was a more talented team.
The 16 team was held together by duct tape.
Corey Kluber and Andrew Miller got
And Allen, Cody Allen. Those three guys, they had nothing else.
Yeah.
And they got to Game 7 of the World Series with three pitchers, essentially. One starter and two good relievers. One reliever was all-world, and one other reliever was good. That was it. And so it's a bit of a crapshoot. And yes, the Guardians have failed in the postseason the last few years. But since these guys have been here, all they've known is winning. The worst record they had was 80 and 82 in the decade they've been here. So it's hard to say they should have pressure to be fired at this point because of one surprisingly bad year.
No, I wouldn't say fired.
Yeah.
Usually teams that are good.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Philadelphia Eagles under Andy Reid.
Yeah.
At some point in time, it's like, hey, I know you've been to these championships, these NFC championships, but this year we gotta get over the hump.
Right.
Is there usually you got a honeymoon period of 4 years, 5 years, but soon somebody says,
Andy Reid was there a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Because he was great, and eventually there was time, and maybe eventually there'll be a time with this team, but I don't think we're close to that yet. No.
When the pressure comes is when new ownership comes in.
Yes, that's right.
That's when the pressure gets ratcheted up.
That's true. We'll see how they do between now and then.
Right.
But I think at this trade deadline, in the end, I think the Guardians. What are they buying? They can't buy. They have nothing. It's a weird. They may do both, I guess. But I would definitely trade Savali because to me, his value will never be higher than it is now. And the pitching market, in terms of what's available, is thin. I mean, who's out there? Marcus Stroman's having a Cy Young type of season, but he can opt out at the end of this year. So and he's pitching better than he should be. Now, so is Savali, and Stroman's better than Savali. Scherzer could be available. Verlander could be available, but I don't know that the Mets are going to sell. As bad as they've been,
they're not gonna sell.
I still think you look at the other bad teams that might sell. Kansas City's got no starting pitching. Oakland's got no starting pitching to trade. St. Louis has got no starting pitching to trade. Like, all these bad teams don't have any starting pitching. The Cubs have, as I said, Stroman. Now the White Sox it depends what the White Sox do. They have some interesting pitchers there.
Yep.
Who else? The Angels, if they trade Ohtani. By the way, Colin Cowherd, you guys all see that thing?
I was going to bring that up at the end of this conversation to put a bow tie on baseball. You want to get to it now? That was bad.
Yeah.
That was
You want to play the clip, or?
Yeah, give me a sec. I'll find the clip.
Colin Cowherd, I'm not a huge Colin Cowherd fan. I respect him because he's highly successful in the business. He's found a niche. He's not my cup of tea. I don't really care for him, but I respect him. And obviously, again, he's very
We have the clip. You ready?
This is him talking about Shohei Ohtani, what he needs to do.
It's really an all-time talent. But the question is, what do the Angels do? They trade him and get a bevy of picks back. I would love to do that. That's what I would do. Or do you roll the dice and try to sign him? Because no GM is really an all-time
You're not a big baseball player. Maybe you don't realize how cringeworthy that is.
How do you not have someone on that show?
When I heard it, I thought, like, in his mind, he was thinking
A bunch of minor
prospects. So when you say picks and prospects, like, it's kind of the same thing. You get a bevy of prospects.
That's giving him a pretty big benefit of the doubt. I mean, it's possible. That's what he meant. I mean, nobody's going to draft picks. And, like, for an average fan, not to know that, it's not your job. My beef with Colin Cowherd is a beef I have with a lot of people in this business. Is they think they got to be experts on sports. And I think fans appreciate when you're honest about the sports you don't know as well. I fully admit, I don't know the NBA.
Come on, man. I missed it.
I don't pretend to be an expert. I'll give opinions on things I pay attention to, but I don't pretend to be an expert on the NBA. I don't pretend to be an expert on the NFL draft. Most people that do pretend to be experts in that. Barely ever does. He has no clue what he's talking about when he talks baseball. So, like, don't be a phony about it. Just say, just say draft picks.
Director Steve just
I think it's against the. Is it in the CBA?
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird. You can't do it. Even if you right? Trade, they changed their where there are supplemental picks you can trade. Supplemental picks that you can trade. But the point is, there's never a trade in baseball. That the key part.
They're solid for a third-round pick.
I can't remember now. There's one segment of draft picks that you can trade, but it's never a key part of any kind of trade. They'll throw in when it happens. Now they change the rules over the years. But yeah, you can't trade. I don't know why. I think they originally put that in because they were worried that the big market teams who already have an advantage would just make such lopsided trades, by trading draft picks. I think that's why that was put in there originally. But there's never, it just doesn't happen in baseball. You just don't trade draft picks. And it's never, anyway, go ahead, Mike. You look something up?
No, I was trying to see that there's no definition. I guess it's just in the CBA that
Yeah, it is.
you can't trade draft
I'm
picks.
pretty sure they did it because they didn't want the big market. The big market teams were already making one-sided trades.
I mean, it's been like that forever. I don't recall. As long as I've been,
No, you've never been able to trade
I've never
draft picks.
seen.
Again, recently they changed some rule that there's, I can't remember what it is.
It has to do with like it's the money slots, isn't it? Or
That would be a good trade.
the money.
I would trade money towards foreign players. Because there's a cap on that.
Yeah.
I you could trade that. It's not great. I knew there was something in that realm that you could trade.
Yeah.
But that's never a key part of a trade. And you certainly don't trade draft picks in baseball. So that's it. You just can't do it.
Steve Becker just sent us a little note that said it happened in 1965 when they officially banned the trading of draft picks. And then in 1985, they got strengthened when, quote, in response to the Expos dumping first-rounder Pete Incaviglia in a one-sided trade with the Rangers because he refused to sign with Montreal.
Right.
So, didn't like that for
He was Pete Incaviglia had a huge.
Yeah.
Look at Google Pete Incaviglia. He had a big barrel chest.
He probably hit 230 with 25 home runs.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys like that who like would hit 30 homers. You had Rob Deere.
Oh, yeah.
You had Glenn Allen Hill.
big dude.
He was huge, Pete
Big
Incaviglia.
dude. He's now an assistant coach at Oklahoma State.
Like he was a big dude when there weren't that many big dudes.
Yeah. You're right. Big hairy chest was always hanging.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. I'm so annoyed. I only got 7 out of 9 in the
I'm not as good at that as I thought. I get annoyed every time I miss one. I'm done.
Oh,
I
you know
get
what?
mad.
I screwed up.
Just guess Edwin Jackson or Jeff Frank Moore for every point.
Or
Really gonna get
Soros Turris. Like those teams also.
Yeah, babe.
When I saw did you see the one today? No. So it was Giants 300 hitter. Does anybody mind if I spoil it? Or
Not spoil it.
so the Giants 300 hitter, career 300 hitter, I put Bonds. I'm so sure, but that wasn't right.
What?
They got me with Bob Gibson on that a couple
Will Clark.
weeks ago.
I ended up guessing. I ended up doing.
See, that's where I would stop.
Yeah.
As soon as I miss one, I'm out.
Yeah, no, I
get
stick
annoyed.
with it, but
I
it
get
pisses
annoyed.
me off.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting 7. I don't like when I don't get the immaculate bracket. I'm very annoyed at myself.
I've never gotten all 9. I got 8 was the best. And now
I've got 9. I've only been doing it for I think a week. I've got 9.
Yeah, you were
games.
really late to the party.
I know.
Very
I
late.
know.
Do you just do baseball, or have you done the other ones too?
I tried the football one once, but it's not as good because it's not on. Why hasn't that one been bought by
I don't know.
another entity? You
Not
think that would be more popular? I found this other game called Global. Have you seen this one? This is a game where it's just basically, to some degree, a guessing game, but you got to know geography. You pick, there's a mystery country every day, and you start by picking a random country, and then the country lights up in a different color based on how close you are to the actual mystery.
I would be horrible at that.
Yeah, I'm learning all about the countries in Africa and Asia right now.
Oh, man, y'all got this before, man. It's Carmen San Diego. Y'all didn't play the game.
Yeah, no,
You like to dilute the war into crook?
I don't even know if you speak English.
Where in the world is Carmen
Where in
San
the world is
Diego?
Carmen San Diego?
Yeah, they used to have you go.
It's a computer game. It was like on a floppy disk. You push
Oh, really?
it. Oh, yeah.
There was a kids show on PBS.
Right, I remember that.
And then you would have to take the poll, like you had this little thing, they'd be like, you have to go to South America, they go to Africa, and so anywhere but the United States.
Yeah.
If they gave you that map of Southeast Asia, you're out of here. Like, I've seen 2 people win on Carmen San Diego.
Yeah, that was this, like all these little countries. The Middle East is tricky with all those.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Mike, go ahead.
All right, next topic coming up
Thunder's
is
calling.
about the Cleveland Cavaliers here, guys. This came out a little earlier today, but Ty Jerome signed his contract at the biannual vet minimum, which means they still have $3.6 million left to use on the mid-level exception. So with that question, I ask you guys this. The Cavs are $2.7 million away from the luxury tax threshold. Do you think they are done making this offseason?
I'll start with you, Jason. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they're done making any moves of significance. It would take another wacky sign and trade, which I guess is possible, but I think that they are pretty much.
Let me ask you this: with the sign and trade,
Yeah.
you could go over the cap without paying the tax.
No.
Oh,
No. With a sign and trade just allows you to pay a person more money. Okay. But it still counts against your total tax number.
so they go over the luxury tax.
Well, unless they can match up enough salaries to keep them out of the
that's
tax.
true. Yeah. Okay.
They're not
To
going
bring
to
in Struce, they traded Jetty so they can make the salary work.
Right, exactly. So they're not going to be a tax-paying team this year. They should not be. I don't think they should. I think it's the right move to wait another year. And I've said before, if you're going to go into the tax, you don't want to go to the tax by $1 million. Right. Now, you could sign someone, but you don't pay the tax. You're not technically a tax-paying team until the end of the year. Right. So you can make a move now and then have the trade deadline to try and get yourself out of the tax.
That's risky, though.
It's hard to do that because teams know what you're doing and the price goes up to dump money at that point. So it is possible to go into the tax now and then get out of the tax by the trade deadline, but it is very risky and it's teams have done it.
Yeah.
Plenty of teams have done it over the years.
Is Kevin Love's money still on the books this year?
No.
Because it was a buyout, it's gone.
Well, last year was his last year.
Last year.
That was
Is
the last year's deal.
So who else is coming off the books at the end of this year?
At the end of this year,
Yeah.
I don't know if there really is any big dollar. I don't think there is any big
What
dollar.
was
Levert was 2 years.
2 years.
So they're trying to keep everything clean by the end. They want everything, I think, to end for Mobley. I need to look. But yeah, when Mobley signs his big extension is when they are a tax-paying team.
which is in 2 years?
He has, I think his extension kicks in when Levert's comes off. I think, but I'd have to look at the numbers. I don't know off the top of my head.
And Donovan Mitchell has 2 years left, correct?
Donovan, are you throwing us in there?
Sorry, go ahead, Mike. Check
Donovan
this out.
has 2 years of control and then a player option.
Right, which he'll opt out.
I would imagine he would opt out. Yeah, I would imagine. So he has 2 years of team control left.
So, is it fair to say, would you say there's less than a 20% chance Donovan Mitchell is on the Cavs for the 24-25 season?
Less than a 20, that's a lot of numbers. Less than a 20% chance 2 years from now?
Yes.
I say it's less than 50. But I won't say less than 50.
Okay.
So I think it's less. It depends on how this year goes. This is a massive year. If they get to the conference finals and they're rolling and they feel good about where they're at and he feels good about everything around him, yeah, he could stay for sure. Okay. And then I think you need to have, technically he could sign an extension now. He's not going to, but he could.
Right.
But, if next year goes well, you can have that conversation with him and maybe tear up the last bit on his deal and you get him to sign a new deal.
You have max deals with, I guess you'd be gone
Once they're in your house,
you can do that.
You can do whatever you want.
So Mike, how many years does Allen have left on his contract?
Jarrett Allen has
he signed.
he has this season and then 2 more.
2 more?
Well, he has this season, the following season, and then the following season. So 2 more after this year, correct?
So in theory, they could be paying max contracts in 2 years to Mobley, Garland, Mitchell, and still be paying Allen $20, $20 million.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
because
matter.
they're their own guy.
Once you're in house, you can pay these guys whatever you want to keep them, and they will be an exorbitant tax-paying team.
Right.
But that's okay.
It's okay if they're competing for championship.
Right, and they're willing to pay it. They're willing. And then when you get to the repeat offender stuff, that's when you got really hard decisions to make. And where the Cavs get screwed, and the thing that could stop all of this is that second tier of tax-paying teams. And I don't know. It's too early to say what that number is going to be and how that would impact them down the road. But that second threshold is teams are trying to stay away from that at all costs. So that could be prohibitive to what they're trying to do. But in terms of you can sign them to whatever deal you want once they're in-house. And extension-wise.
Sure will.
They're going to spend money on a player right now.
They're not listening. And, frankly, unless you get some blockbuster deal that's going to put them over the top, right now, this is the time period where you're hoping there's a level of development, right? I look at Garland and I look at Mobley, right? The development period is for those guys to come up with something different in their game. People laugh and joke all the time. People say Isaiah Mobley, where you can take games from, but his brother gotta have that. His brother gotta have a renaissance. Because at this point, you went out and made a move for Donovan Mitchell. Now, the guys that you have identified and hit on, it's time for them to make the strides in their individual personal game. And so you look to see if Darius Garland comes back and he's more efficient. I would like to see Darius Garland. People talk about Mobley. I like to see Darius Garland put a little couple pounds of muscle on too. He's slider frame. For first part of the year, he got knocked around, starting with this Toronto. So, I would like to see Jared Allen. He's a wiry guy. There's no reason Jared Allen should not be coming back 5 to 10 pounds heavy. Like he's not a shooter. He looks like, okay,
Yeah.
that frame, he can put 5'10". I believe that he should be coming back a little bit stronger, a little bit tougher. I don't think he's working with his regular game. I need him to be working with these sports psychologists. I need to be working with some people to be like, say, look, man, you're a guy that played in Brooklyn before. What do you mean the lights is too bright? Please, this ain't nothing. It's not the next. So he needs to go through and try to figure out what's going on with that. And then, for Donovan Mitchell, he had one of the best years of his career here in Cleveland. But
So it matters.
you gotta, at some point in time, you gotta look at yourself and realize, look, if I'm that guy,
Same.
why would you? And by the way, I want to go to New York. But Jalen Brunson is doing all right. He's doing all right. They got people out there. Like, you see what I'm saying? They got guys that is
Rocky! Come here.
You gotta, it's hard. Because I think that him, Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum, the younger guys in that little Midland era, like, none of them have broken through. Like, if you look at who's been at the top of the food chain for years, it's still the Kevin Durant's, it's still the LeBron's. Jokic is an older player, but somebody got to win something for them to break through. And I think jumping from team to team ain't really going to make you look good. Because if Donovan Mitchell go to New York, they're not going to be a favorite to win. I'm not thinking it's go to New York. So,
I guess it depends on what the rest of the East
depends on what they look
at
like.
that time. Because if you heard anything about players' conditioning this offseason, any rumblings about that at all?
Conditioning?
Yeah, like is Mobley working on putting on weight? Is Garland getting?
I haven't checked into that. I mean, you'll get those stories when everyone's in the best shape of their life. This guy, it's the best shape of their life. Yeah, so I don't really
What? The best shape of your life season was hilarious.
Everybody talks about that. What I want Mobley to do is fix a shot. I don't care. He does need to get bigger. I'm talking to Evan. Evan needs to get bigger and stronger for sure.
You got to differentiate that now because, Isaiah.
Well, because you keep talking about Isaiah. You're the only one.
But Evan needs to fix the shot. That's what I want. That's what I hope he's working on. I'm sure he is working on it. He's got to take it. Mike?
Chris Fedor put out an article in Cleveland.com to potential guys Cavs may still have interest in who are still available on the free agency market. That's Kelly Oubre Jr., the athletic wing from Charlotte, and Christian Wood, the stretch 4/5 out of Dallas. Assuming either of those two would be willing to take a major pay cut and a discount on a short one-year deal for $3-ish million for the luxury tax. Would you guys have any interest in either of those two?
Mike, why don't you tell the folks what you said to us about both of those guys and concerns of both of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, if I asked myself that question, I would say no. I don't think either's a great fit. Dallas traded legitimate assets to get Christian Wood this past season, had him for 1 year, and we're like, yeah, no, we're okay. You can walk away for nothing. That, to me, is the ultimate telling sign, exactly. And I don't think, even though his skill set theoretically fits pretty well next to Mobley and/or Jared Allen, I just don't trust a guy like that who had a team give up things for him, have him in-house at a position of desperate need, and then just be like, nah, you're okay, you can walk in free agency. And Kelly, I just don't love his fit. He's a non-shooting three. He's better than Okoro, don't get me wrong, but I just don't trust his ability. He's been on 4 teams now in 6 years, and he's been on a couple of good teams.
That's a bad sign.
And he hasn't stuck on the good teams. He scored 20 points last year in Charlotte. They had 3 players average 20 points per game. Someone had to score on that team. I don't think he's a great fit. I don't think he'd take $3 million either. But even if he would, I don't really like either of those two as truly beneficial offers. Yes, he's better than Okoro maybe, but I just don't think it makes the Cavs any better.
What about, a couple of weeks ago we talked about Bridges, which is the Bridges that was suspended all last year.
Miles Bridges.
Miles Bridges.
Renegotiated with Charlotte.
Oh, he did.
And again, you don't have to sign for $3 million. You can sign for more.
Use some sort of sign and trade with Charlotte for Brady's sake. But and I was just trying to pull the salary, like Ricky Rubio, $6 million. 6? Can't read my own.
Would you rather have Rubio or Oubre?
I don't know. What's Rubio look like? If the Rubio last year, I guess I'd say Oubre.
Yeah.
But they still need a backup point guard.
Right. And I mean, I
played
know
a high level
older
veterans.
before he got hurt.
I'm just
2 years later now.
Yeah, I'm just throwing a name out of like
Yeah,
that's
no.
how you do a sign and trade.
Right.
But then you got to give Charlotte like they're out of trade assets, so now you got to give Charlotte. Is Charlotte really want a second round pick to take on $6 million to Ricky Rubio? If they feel like they can flip him and get something else for him, maybe. But that's how you sort of execute a sign and trade, and that's how you wind up paying guys more than just the $3 million that you have left slotted. You can get creative with it. I just don't think it's realistic for where they're at.
What do you think the chances are that Ricky Rubio can be the player we saw the first half of 2 seasons ago?
I don't think that's gone.
That's gone.
But I think he can be better than what he showed you last year. Like, there's a lot of room in between where he was and 2 years ago and where he was last year. There's quite a bit of a gap in there. So I do think that he can help this team. Like a veteran backup point guard who doesn't need the ball in his hands to produce, like, is exactly what because they've got 2 ball dominant guards now. If you've got Ricky who can come in and give these guys a blow and can distribute and knows how to run the offense, that could be a really nice weapon if he's right. Yeah. I just, he was so bad last year.
Yeah.
Like, I went in last year thinking, all right, well, it's going to take him a year, whatever. Right. But he was so bad last year that it does make you question whether he's got anything.
Like, has he gone off the cliff? Has that injury pushed him off the cliff?
We'll know fairly early on.
I mean, he's torn his ACL twice. And when you tear it and you're in your 30s, that's different.
Like, a short list of guys who've been able to come back from that.
Because basically what you lose all explosiveness. So, like, if you're a guard, you're depending on getting by people. You got a guard, you're doing a lot of switching on the top of the perimeter. That's rough, man. I don't know if we got nothing left, but I know they got a shooter somewhere. Sam Merrill, where you at, dog? Can they hide him defensively? Sam Merrill, what's up, baby?
Speaking of end of the bench guys who you can get for very little money, did the Cavs bring Lamar Stevens back after he got cut?
I wouldn't hate that. Although there might be a rule.
There used to be a rule, right? If you do trade a guy,
this rule.
Yeah, because the Cavs was doing that every week.
I think he's off limits to them for a year. I think.
Or was it the very shot?
It was Zydrunas because they traded Zydrunas to get Antoine Jameson. Washington bought him out and he came right back.
Right.
And after that is when they
why would they? But like, who cares?
Because it was happening quite a bit.
Hey,
So what? It's still happening with like, not great players.
Found out about the WLO.
From
Seemed more organized than I expected.
like
Doesn't change anything for me. Just means we have to go
first round. I think they gave him the first round pick.
It's like
That's not nothing.
well, the new rule should be called the old time. I'll show would do that. I would tell him I'm gonna give you 700 million. You'll trade these prospects. See what I did there, Kyle. Hey, I'm gonna trade you for a bunch of AA guys, and we're gonna get a full farm system, and then you're gonna come back for 750. Now the thing is, somebody might just like the Dodgers might be like, nah, we're not going out without that. Like, so we might offer him $1 billion.
Yeah, I don't think it's even $1 billion, but he is going to get.
He's worth
And again,
he gets.
once you trade, and I think I agree with the idea of trading him because I don't think he's coming back. But once you trade him, it's really hard to get that guy to come back.
Right.
It's a Carlos Boozer situation where you take a guy hurt or whatever.
I wonder how often he's traded guys and they tried to get them back.
Well, they definitely did with Boozer, right? That's for sure.
Boozer was different. Boozer wasn't a trade. It was actually illegal. What the Cavs did was basically illegal.
Yeah.
And they let him out of this contract to restructure. I don't remember all the details. I was talking to someone about that a few months ago, and basically they knew right away, as soon as they let him out of the deal, they knew they were screwed. That he had no, like, this was, he just lied to them. Yeah, he just lied to them.
But in terms of baseball, obviously we saw with Chapman, the Yankees traded him to the Cubs. The Cubs didn't try to re-sign him, and the Yankees brought him back. I wonder though, that's right, but I wonder how often teams tried to, and then the guy was like, no, you're traded.
Or no, they literally tell him and be like, listen, this is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, but we want to re-sign you after. I'm guessing that hasn't happened.
Here's the thing. Players don't trust teams, and teams don't trust players. You have no idea
There's no guarantee. But if you're the
how
Angels,
much distrust there is
if you're
on
the
each
Angels,
side.
you can't let him just walk for nothing.
I agree.
The guy's the best player in baseball.
If you're not 90% confident or more that you're going to get him back, I think you have to deal with him.
Yeah.
But
I hope he doesn't go to the Yankees. Yeah, I predicted the Yankees not to make the playoffs. Now, I had some other baseball predictions this year that were awful, including I picked Alec Manoah to win the Cy Young. But I picked the Yankees to not make the playoffs on my podcast before the season. I don't know if I said it on the show. And a lot of people tell me you're out of your mind. Now, I'm not right yet, but as of now, the playoffs. And they look like a complete mess.
I think the Angels would trade him. I would think.
I think they'd want to.
Yeah. The Dodgers.
The Dodgers make a lot of sense.
Yes.
Even though the Padres stink, you never know with them. But I don't know that they have any prospects left. They've made a lot of trades recently.
I think the Yankees would just try to outbid people.
But the Yankees don't have a great farm system. The Dodgers have a huge payroll and a great farm system. They have a lot they can throw at the Angels. Now, do they want him playing in Los Angeles for another team? Probably not.
Probably would not
They'd
trade
probably
him.
rather go to the East Coast in the National League.
Would you rather trade him to an American League team or the Dodgers? Probably an American League team in their case.
Yeah, especially with the
Don't worry.
division.
Yeah, that would that'd be terrible. Yeah, you're right.
But who in terms of the National League, who I can see trading for him, I can see the Dodgers doing it. I don't think the Giants have a great farm system, but I can see them doing it. They're a playoff team. I don't know NL farm systems that well. Nobody in the Central. The Cubs are not good enough to trade for them.
And the Padres
Do you think the Angels would entertain an offer of Isaiah Mobley, Amani Bates, a future second-round pick, and Craig Porter for Ohtani?
Close.
I don't know if I want to give Porter Jr. That's too much.
Yes, I will give him a straight Porter Jr.
Yeah, he averaged 27 points, right? And we'll throw Logan Allen in. That's a fair deal, bro.
And a future second-round baseball draft pick.
I'd love to do a segment, Mike, where we ask fans to propose Guardians trades for Shohei Ohtani. And I would like to see how many fans come up with trades that, I know the Guardians are not going to do it, but trades that actually the Angels would listen to in real life.
For Ohtani, or should we open up for everything?
Maybe.
Like, Guardians trade, fans
Not just
submitting
for
Guardians
Ohtani,
trade.
because he's a special guy. I don't know if people realize how much you have to give up to get him. Like, in theory, if the Guardians wanted Ohtani, they would probably have to trade Bybee
Yes.
and more.
Yes. Not if you did it like this. Tell him I got Jose Ramirez on the line. Boom.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
What you mean?
It doesn't make sense because Ohtani's going to leave after 1 year, and now you've traded away your best player.
But I'm just saying, you say give me something they will listen
What would
to.
the Angels want?
That's true. Okay. Okay. Well, they would.
He got you. He just put you in a mental pretzel right there.
No, that's a good point. G's right. Obviously, the Guardians wouldn't do that. But yes, if you offered them Jose Ramirez, who's locked up in a cheap rate, you'd still have to give up more than Jose Ramirez, who's a top 10 player in baseball.
You
still have to give up more.
You can give up Jose Ramirez and you can give up Bobby. And then
The Angels would want more.
and we'll give them Valera.
I still think they want more.
I don't know. I mean, that Jose contract is the best in baseball.
Think about
It is
that.
the best in
That's a
baseball.
whole trade. I gave you
And
Bobby.
this is fantasy land that we're in.
Yes.
But
I think if you offered them Ramirez and Williams, they would do it, the Angels.
I think that's probably. I think that's close.
That's close. Ramirez and Williams, you got to deal. Now, again, the Guardians would never do that. Would
But think about it. As McNuggets, all the rest of them teams, right? They got a list of 75 people they got to put together. The Guardians could put 2 out there.
Now, I'm not sure that would be enough.
It's the best.
But that would, I'm not, they might have to.
They would save.
I don't know. I mean, that Ramirez contract is
the best of
It is the not pre-arbitration.
Yeah.
It's the best contract.
And how many more years he got? 100?
He's got quite a few.
Like, come on, McNuggets, that's the deal.
But it's not like it's not going to his late 30s though.
No, I think he's got
going to his mid.
I don't know, 4 years left.
Yeah.
Boy, you get Otani.
Anyway, let's rephrase that because G found
Actually,
a flaw in the
you
system.
can't even do that because Jose's got no trade clause.
Well, but we're saying just with the Angels taking. That was his point,
Yeah.
and he's right. But I would like to see fans come up with not involving Jose Ramirez.
What days are you on the show next week?
I'm actually off all next week.
So
Great idea, Bob.
I'm actually up to training camp.
I'm off next week and the first 2 days of the following week, and then I'm on every
So
day.
you're basically off through the trade deadline.
Yes. The guys are gone.
No, I'll be back.
You're basically off through the trade
yeah, you're
deadline.
off the deadline. Yeah, you're off the
I
deadline.
am. I'm not back.
I will do it tomorrow. We will do it tomorrow.
I might have to switch up some of my days off. I don't think I should miss the trade deadline. I didn't think about that.
Because if you ain't here, we're going right through it.
We'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll do it tomorrow. I'm gonna add it to my list
No,
right now.
I may work
Start
those
the
first,
next
that Monday at 2, or one of those days, the trade deadline, and take off some other day. Because I don't want to miss the whole trade deadline. I don't know why I haven't thought about that.
Bad job, Eddie.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about quarterback.
And before we do that,
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody that if you're not already a member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, frankly, what are you waiting for? For just $1.99 a month to become a starters tier member, that gets you loyalty badges, custom emojis, and members-only community posts. For $4.99, you become a coaches tier member that gets you all those same starter tier perks, plus overtime videos, member shoutouts, and much, much more. Also, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, help us out. We appreciate all you guys very dearly for supporting us here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
So we've talked about the fact that there's this new documentary on Netflix called Quarterback. For those of you who haven't watched it, it's fantastic. It's just to have a frame of reference, it's kind of Hard Knocks-esque, except it only follows 3 specific players on 3 different teams. This year, this first season of it, they just announced it's going to be a second season. They follow Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. In other words, a star quarterback, a solid starting NFL quarterback, and a guy who's fighting for his starting NFL career or career period. It's produced, NFL Films is involved, Peyton Manning's production company is involved, I can't remember what the name of the company, Omaha Production.
Omaha.
So they're involved. It is extremely well done. Guys, I know you've watched it, I've watched it, Mike's watched it, I've seen the whole thing. I thought it was fantastic. I did fast forward a little bit through some of the AFC Championship stuff because that was a little too depressing to watch. But I thought that, I mean, the stuff with Mahomes in particular, for those who may not have watched the whole thing, when you see some of the stuff with Mahomes, first of all, he calls everybody dog. You notice that?
Yeah.
Hey, dog. Hey, dog.
I was actually watching at 1.5 speed trying to catch up because it's kind of hard to keep up with the dialogue when you put it at 1.5 speed.
Yeah.
I was trying to crank through some of this.
Hey, good Rush 9-2.
Yeah.
Good Rush 9-2.
Yeah.
That's a good one right there.
It get pissed at Max Rock. But some of the insight into what happened in the AFC divisional round when he got hurt against Jacksonville. And
Crazy.
He's on the sideline. Like, they don't even know if his ankle is broken.
Yeah.
He can barely put any weight on it. And he's on the sideline. Reed's telling him, we're gonna take you out. And he's like, no. I don't know. Like, I know he's competition. I get it. I certainly get it. That's why I was fantastic. All right? I get it. He's right?
mad about the type of money these dudes make. But just go back and watch through the episodes and watch just how much outside stuff, like outside the facility, not during practice. Like these guys, when Mahomes was going to his trainer, and he was doing it during the season, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah.
He's in there running full sprints and clock times and all kind of crazy things. And like this stuff, I'm like, this is on outside. And I'm like, bro, they do. Kirk Cousins has electrodes on his head and
training his brain. How many times did Kirk Cousins, man, you hear him on the field just like screaming in pain?
Yeah.
It's like, so like you don't think about that as someone who didn't play, but
that was one of my big takeaways from this.
Yeah.
Was seeing, and you always hear, G, you play, you know this. I never played football outside of state.
What?
I can't speak on this.
Most likely I am.
That add up over.
What do you mean? Yeah, they said as long as the dude comes in at 2, because if they don't, then, or 3, they wouldn't have nobody to do it, but as far, yeah. Oh well.
The course of a 17-game season, especially you're getting hit by 250 to 350 pound dudes. There was a scene in the first episode when Mahomes was playing against the Raiders and Max Crosby.
Yeah. I punched him in the head.
Kind of hitting him a little after the whistle and was playing mind games. That was how he just punched him.
Yeah.
Like in the arm after the thing. And Mahomes like, and I don't want to curse, but he's like, dude, you can hit me. Don't punch me like that. And they came back. Kirk Cousins was never on the injury list last season for the Vikings. He was never listed as questionable. He was never listed as doubtful. He was probable most of the time, but very rarely even shown on the injury report.
They don't do probable anymore.
So he wasn't on the injury report whatsoever. And he talked about week after week spending 10 to 15 hours with trainers outside of the facility in his own home, just getting his body ready to prepare.
Chiropractors that come to his house.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hours and hours with people outside the facility on his own, after practice, after working with the trainers.
Those guys take
just to get his body ready.
And I gotta say, because I always gotta go back there.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Go ahead and say it.
For all the excuses that were made for Baker playing like shit when he hurt his shoulder, that I feel even more vindicated saying, you're on the field, you gotta play.
Yeah.
Because we didn't hear excuses for other guys. Kirk Cousins, now, listen, they lost in the playoffs. Well,
He threw a pass 3
Kirk
yards on
Cousins
4th
played,
down.
had a great season last year. And he had the shit beat out of him. I mean, he was acting up the whole year.
It was like I just forgot about this.
Yeah.
I was watching Kirk Cousins on the thing,
Yeah.
and I was sitting there getting emotional. And I was like, man, what the hell is wrong? It was by myself. I was trying to get through the episode. I'm like, man, why am I acting like that? Like emotional. And it's because, like, when he was doing all that training stuff, like, I remember I used to be hurt and have to go through all these different things and get your knee drained and all these other, get your knee scoped and all these different surgeries that you had or back or neck. And I was sitting there thinking and remembering to myself, I was like, bro, I thought there was something just wrong with me. Like, I just thought, you know, am I not tough enough? Am I not, like, I should be able to go out and just play without doing all this stuff. And then it just hit me, like, when I was watching it, nah, man, like, and I knew this, but everybody go through it. And it's the mental, like, I thought I was just mentally screwed up because I'm like, bro, I shouldn't, I don't like this. I'm always with the trainers. I got to do all this other stuff. It's just crazy. I just want to play. Remember, you think about the times when you could just get up and just go do what you wanted to. And then when you see him and you see guys at that next level, you realize, nah, that's every player. Everybody has these injuries, and it's the mental grind that just wears you down, where you just, some days you don't know how you got it. Like, he was sitting there saying, hey, Tuesday, I don't know how I'm going to play.
Right.
And by Thursday, he's out here throwing the football.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing what these guys go through. And so you were going to say the same thing. Like, the Baker excuses seem so ridiculous now.
That's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
When you're talking about all the work that these guys have to do. And the one thing about Mahomes that was interesting, I'm going to mess this up. His trainer was talking about he only loses 3% of motion, and most guys lose 20%.
That was wild. All the neck training,
all the neck
spine
training, spine training, and the
Fascinating.
machines that he uses.
Yeah, it looks so weird.
Yeah, to gain flexibility, and how much baseball helps
Right.
his hips, and how little range of motion he loses compared to most people.
Right.
And that's what helps him
Never
with some of
thought
these
about any of that
unorthodox
stuff,
throws.
right?
Yeah,
I
it's wild.
mean, the trainer seems like a little bit of an odd duck.
Most of them are.
Yeah, that's right.
So about that trainer,
Yeah.
my sports director when I was in Texas.
Yeah.
So the Jimmy Donovan to Nick Camino here. I was Nick Camino.
Yeah,
He worked in Tyler and covered Mahomes in high school.
right.
And he says that he did a story when Mahomes went to Texas Tech on that trainer. And this is before he had moved to Kansas City
Right.
and built this massive facility that's essentially
Awesome.
Mahomes' playhouse.
Right. I'm sure he trains other people, but
Yeah, he does, but
Yeah.
it's when Mahomes comes in, it's Mahomes' playhouse.
Right,
and when
yeah.
he's not there, everyone else can come in. And he did a story when he was working in East Texas in Tyler, and Mahomes went to White House, Texas, White House High School, which is right outside Tyler. It was like an old barn that he turned into a workout shed like that, but
Yeah.
obviously not that extreme. And it was like after I went to that story, I was like, this dude's a loony bin. He's got no freaking clue what he's talking about. He's talking about neck movement, and it's like if Mahomes trusts him, and this is the best high school player I've ever
who
seen.
said
Like,
this guy's crazy?
my sports director.
Well, how would he know?
Because he grew up playing football as a quarterback in high school, and then seeing these guys do this drills that he had never even thought of.
Well, just because they're new doesn't mean they're wrong.
My point, what
Yeah.
I'm getting at is, he may be loony.
Yeah.
He's right. Whatever he's doing is working. But he came out, this is before Mahomes.
Right, got
This
you.
was Mahomes in high school before he made a
I
mark at
got you.
Texas Tech.
Okay.
And he's like, why is he doing this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I'm 10 years older than him. I played,
Yeah.
high school football
This guy
in
was
Texas
ahead
at
of
a big
the
time
head
high
of the
school.
curve. Yeah.
And
Trevor
I never
Bauer
did anything
training
like that. Yeah.
Type stuff with pitcher.
It's
Yeah.
different.
Doesn't it? See, this is now. I know I can't be the only one that I think about this. When they was doing all this stuff, what they be doing, did it cross your mind? Like, what is your shot?
7302. 7302.
I didn't think about that, but this is what?
I mean, he was gallivanting through Europe,
Like you and you like.
which is fine. I don't want.
No.
That came out wrong. These guys are out of their time. They need to enjoy their time.
I wasn't going, but what I was saying was,
You don't make
at the level that we want to go, or the level we want to get to, and these guys are standing in front of you,
Yep.
you ask yourself, all right, he has to be doing at least
Right.
this type
If
of
the
level
best
work.
quarterback in football is doing this,
That we-
well, if I want to compete with him, I got to do even more.
And I came away thinking after the thing, oh, we in trouble. Not everybody, but like not just us. Everybody. It's like watching like Michael Jordan, like come from Space Jam and getting hooping and doing like they're at that level. When I see him working out that many times during the week, even after he's injured, I said that's crazy. You're doing 3 hard
Yeah.
workouts.
It is insane how he came back.
The fact he played in the playoffs after that ankle thing
Right.
is the dumbest, most
in the
absurd thing
Bengals
ever.
game a week later, didn't even look hurt at all. I'm sure he was affected by it.
I mean, we talked about
He
it
didn't
hurting.
look hurt at all in that game.
He said mentally, I had to tell myself it didn't hurt so many times till I convinced
Right.
myself I just wasn't in pain.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about with Mahomes, and we'll get into a little bit of the Mariota stuff, which
Yeah.
I could have done without, but when they talked about the process in practice of coming up with some of their diabolical plays, like the Pokemon play they ran in the
That
Super
was
Bowl,
wild. Yeah.
I'm curious, and Jason, I wonder if you know. Mahomes talked, and Kelsey talked about this too, on a different podcast, but it lined up. They have a period of practice every week where players can come in with trick plays and present it to Andy Reid. They'll run it, and if Reid likes it, they'll try to tweak it and put it in
Well,
place.
if Reed and Mahomes like it,
Yeah, I'm saying if it
Right,
gets
yeah.
approved, but like anyone can come in, an offensive lineman come in with
he
a play.
encourages
He encourages the
to be
players to
creative
kind of
with
come up with
That's
plays.
crazy.
Is that commonplace around the NFL? Is that an Andy Reid special?
I haven't heard of that before. Now again, I spent most of my career in the NBA, not the NFL. But in the last few years I've been around the NFL, I have not heard of that. It doesn't mean it's not happening. I could see Kevin being open to something like that.
He should be. Every coach should be.
Yeah, I can see that. He's actually very collaborative, but I haven't heard of any specific period. I'll ask around. I'll poke around on that and see if that's common or not.
It just seems really cool that Andy Reid, maybe one of, if not a top Mount Rushmore level offensive mind in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if you have an idea, let me see it. If I like it, we'll figure out a way to make it work.
I thought it was fascinating to see. I mean, their wives are very into, like, their wives are